Hey, Chuck, you got moves like that?
Oh, I wish I had those moves. That baby could dance circles around me.
This is the thing. This is the thing, you know. I mean, it's dancing babies. It's
Oh, that's adorable.
dancing salsa babies, really.
Yeah. Boy, that lifts your spirits, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You know, I looked at that and I was giggling because I know
Yeah.
that you and I like to open the show with a dance, and
We sure do.
it's a seated dance, right?
Yeah, I think so anyway. I think that's the terminology for it.
Well, Ellen DeGeneres used to do a nice little dance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing, Lindsay?
I'm doing fantastic. How was your week? My gosh,
Oh,
things
it's
are
been
crazy
pretty
over
good.
there.
I've just been busy, been working on a lot of artwork and a lot of projects. And my manager, Debbie, has me working on some things for my channel, getting that up to speed. We're working hard right now. There's a lot of exciting things in my life right now.
I heard through the grapevine, you may not be ready to go public, that there is possibly a book in the works.
Well, it's something I'm thinking about doing. People have been after me for the last 38 years to do this. Ever since I moved to LA, I started collecting personal celebrity stories. People
A
said,
vision of, well, it's a vision. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you didn't interrupt me.
It's a vision of Hollywood, isn't it? Your vision of Hollywood.
It's a vision of Hollywood. That's what brought me out here initially. I came out here with stars in my eyes, wanting to be an actor like most people do when they come to LA. We usually get a dose of reality, but there have been so many other blessings and opportunities that have come to me because of Los Angeles. And I've probably met over 500 celebrities in all these years. So,
well, you've also worked with them as a physician's assistant, too.
Yes, I have. In fact, you and I shared in some of those people when we were working together in West Hollywood.
So I think we should just go right into it. If you want to talk about the fact that people were upset that you were a friend of Russel Brand's when you in LA, and that people felt that we were defending him, and you want to talk about it?
It's an awkward situation. You know, I wasn't defending him, not defending him. I was just giving my side of the story, giving a personal account that several years ago, I knew Russel Brand fairly well when he lived here in Los Angeles. And I just wanted to say he was always very kind to me, respectful. We used to have wonderful spiritual conversations together. He used to put me on the list for his shows to get me in as his guest. He was always very kind to me. So that's my personal experience. But all this stuff is coming up now, and I don't want people to think in any way, shape, or form I'm condoning. You know, he's been accused of raping a 16-year-old girl. There's all kinds of stories of misconduct. In no way do I condone that, and I don't want it to be construed that way.
Right, and I think that what we were just doing is we were saying that the experience that we had as just, you know, he was a friend of yours. For me, he was just a customer, somebody that would come and shop and whatnot. So we weren't coming at it from the perspective that we had all this information. We were just coming at it from friendly, funny guy who's a little bit hands-on-y with people. And we thought that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him hit up on women, but it was always a very fun, playful thing where he would give out his phone numbers, and he was always joking. Russell was just naturally an irreverent guy, his outrageous humor. And you and I even had theorized last week that maybe he just approached one of the wrong people who took things.
Right, because we didn't know that there were rape. We thought there were like a harassment, or that maybe he had an off-color joke to it. So we wanted to clarify that.
Oh, absolutely, because there has been some horrifying stuff that's come out this week, and it saddens me. It saddens me. Someone I've cared about, that I've known personally, but no, this is not acceptable behavior by any means. And we're just going to have to see where it goes with the investigation.
I think that I do want to ask you, because you do know this person, and I know so many people have these questions for you. So I'm just going to be the person to ask. Do you think that this is going to get worse? Do you think he's going to be charged in California? They're talking about him being possibly charged in Britain. Do you think we're looking at him possibly charged in LA?
Oh, I think it's definitely going to get much worse. I think we're just seeing the beginnings of this. He's already losing sponsors for his YouTube channel. It's been demonetized. His agent fired him. His rep, I think his management let him go. It's just beginning, and I could see him maybe being brought back to California. You know, that it's certainly not the first time this has happened.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
this is going to go on for quite a while. I'm certain of that. Sorry about my cat walking by me here.
And in these types of situations, if you're avoiding the police, they're not going to go away. I mean, look at Roman Polanski.
Oh,
I mean,
no. And especially when you're a public figure like this, when you're under the, shall we say, the microscope, the way he is, there's no way he's going to get away with anything. That's why I think it's only going to escalate. So it's going to be quite the story in the coming weeks and months. It certainly looks like his career is over. I don't see how he's going to survive this.
yeah.
With all the, our current cancellation culture, we've seen too many people who have had their careers just disappear overnight over similar allegations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started, I just wanted to clear that before we get started.
Yeah,
If you haven't had a chance to like and subscribe to this wonderful channel, we would really appreciate it. As you know, Chuck and I very much appreciate the amazing Debbie Brady. She has done some wonderful creative work for us. Please be sure and check out the merch. It's a great way of supporting the channel. I know Chuck and I absolutely love everything that Debbie designs, and it's just another way to support the channel, as are the memberships. Well, Chuck, you want to say hi to anyone who's having tacos with us today? Anybody?
Oh, let me see here. Who do we have here? I'm trying to read the fine print here. We have Kay, we have Jan, we have Patty. Lots of nice greetings here. There's a pink hand waving to us. Hey, hi, gang. Happy to catch you here. Well, it's wonderful. I've said this before. As your assistant, one of my jobs is to call your clients.
Yes.
And it's delightful. I reach so many people who go, I recognize your voice. You're Chuck from Taco Tuesdays. I love you two guys. And it's great to have personalities now that I can connect with when I see the names on here. You're all becoming like a big collective family, and I love it.
Great. Well, you got to. We kind of live in heaven on earth, don't we? We get to live our dream every day. We get to play dress up, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, look, I got hi from the Netherlands, hi from Queens.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, people are all over the place.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you. Now, I noticed that you have, of course, changed your art for us, my love. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at?
I did. The reason I chose this is my portrait of the wonderful Hattie McDaniel, who, of course, won a richly deserved Oscar for Gone with the Wind. She was the first African-American actor to ever win an Oscar. And, I'm of the opinion, that staircase scene in Gone with the Wind where she's crying and walking Melanie up. I mean, I just think that's one of the greatest moments ever put on film. She won that Oscar deservedly. But anyway, when she died, she willed her Oscar to Howard University.
Oh.
And it got lost over the years. Nobody knows what happened to it, if it was stolen, if it was misplaced. So it was in the news today that the Motion Picture Academy is going to replicate the award and give it to Howard University to put back on display. They're replacing her Oscar, and they're going to do a wonderful tribute to her. So I just wanted to get out this portrait I did of Hattie McDaniel about 3 months ago. I thought it was the perfect time to show it today.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. It's funny. I've been reading a couple things, quotes from her that I don't know if it was you that I saw it, where she was saying that she liked being funny. She liked the fact that the character was funny. She could do comedy as an actor.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, I'm a trained actor. I can do comedy.
Yeah, it was that.
And
But
what she didn't like was the fact, yeah, go ahead.
You know the other quote that's very famous? She said, I look at it this way. I can play a maid for $7,000 a week, or I can be a maid for $7 a week.
Right.
But she was asked about all of the she got typecast, unfortunately, as the maids, the mammy characters when she was so much more. But that was her answer to all of that. So she was getting the last laugh. And she's greatly revered today. A richly deserving Oscar-winning actress. And I think we hold her in our hearts and love her very much.
Wow. And of course, if you're interested in purchasing either a high quality print or even commissioning Chuck to commission a personal painting, you can contact Debbie Brady. And she can work that out for you.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen.
Well, we have a lot going on today for people that don't know. There's a ton of stuff going on. We have later on today, our monthly book club is getting together. Did you know that, Chuck?
I am very excited about this one because I know the author personally.
Well, would you like to tell us a little bit about what's going to happen at 6 o'clock tonight, our time?
Rosalia Scalia. The reason I know her is about a year and a half ago, you interviewed me. This was before I was on your show. And she saw the interview and commissioned me to do a portrait of her mother. And we chatted quite a bit on the phone, got to know each other. And she was telling me then that her book was about to come out. Well, I was just delighted. Last week, about an hour before we did our show, my mail arrived. Opened up the envelope. I didn't know it was going to be this book. And I saw Rosalia Scalia. I know her. This is her book. I'm so excited. I'm really, really excited. And I know you agree with me on this. She is a phenomenal writer.
You know what I said? I said when I was reading, I said, this woman is such a brilliant poetess. She reminds me of Amanda Gorman.
You said that. Oh, I said I even saw parallels to Hemingway.
We're not just saying this because she's going to be on.
No, not at all.
We're saying it because it's really true. She is
the truth.
You're going to hear her read some of the work.
And I'm looking forward to that. I want to hear her in her voice reading her own beautiful work. Yeah.
So
I respect this lady a lot.
Yeah. Would you like to do the empath prayer with me, my love?
I would love to. Let's do it.
All right, we're going to do the empath's prayer, and then after that, we're going to talk about hot topics. It looks like, I should get my rabbit. I got it right again. The Trump organization is no more.
Yeah. So that's quite a news story.
I know. Let's do the empath's prayer, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say amen.
Amen.
Well, I think you and I need to talk about some past remote views. Do you want to see it first? Do you guys want to just spend 2-3 minutes watching this? And then
let's take a look.
Let's watch this.
And the order right here is stating that any certificates filed under New York's general business law of any entity of the defendants is hereby canceled, folks. This is as big as it gets in the case. We will also get to the issue of damages. Of course, that will be decided at a trial. But for now, let me reiterate, Judge Arthur Engoron has ordered the cancellation.
Remember what I said. I want you to meditate, everybody, as you're watching the next 60 minutes, 2 minutes. You might as well cooperate with Robert Mueller, baby girl, because he's already got your signatures on the document. So it looks like Trump and his sons are being in trouble, but Ivanka is not being charged.
Wow.
Of Donald Trump's business licenses in the state of New York. And I want to say this as I co-host this with Michael Cohen. Thank you, Michael Cohen, because this is not possible without you. And don't take my word for it. As one of your best friends and co-hosts, take the word of New York Attorney General Letitia James when she brought this about almost a year ago at this point in 2022 at the press conference. She stated that this is because of the cooperation and efforts of Michael Cohen. With that said, I want to get your reaction to this historic news that broke seconds before we went live.
Yeah, I mean, look, as the title of our combined podcast here, it's a beatdown. I want people to understand that the Trump Corporation is a New York corporation.
You want to talk about it? Do you want to, are you,
Well,
he was told by, we did a remote view. He was told by Robert Mueller, if you don't want to spend the rest of your life in prison, I suggest you start making some phone calls. That was, and so the first person he called, one of the first people he called was Ivanka. And what he said was, you might as well, I mean, Mueller was there when those calls were made. He also called Waldencraft, who wrote a book, but that was one of the first times we got into his remote. And what he said to Ivanka is, it's game over. They got your signature on the documents, baby girl. You got to cooperate. Now they stopped Ivanka at the airport. The Trump wants to know what she's saying to him. Well, we now know.
yeah.
The organization is no more.
Yeah, I don't understand. Why is she not being charged right now? What do you think is going on?
I think that when Robert Mueller told, this is why Robert Mueller is the unsung hero, because it's really frustrating for me sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
You get into the documents and you're just like, listen to me, you're gone. And people are like, you feel like you're Cassandra. It's like, no, it's the baby girl, the name, and then they're going to go there, and then he's going to take it over to New York, and then and people think she's insane. It's just, oh my God. And you just have to sit and take it for years.
I know.
You just have to take it. And now I don't have to take it anymore.
Sorry, Sasha wanted to join the show here. Sorry.
Hi, Sasha. But, because she obviously she was able, under sworn testimony, they how many times did they depose her? We know that she was deposed multiple times. So she showed them where the bodies were buried.
John here said she is not being charged due to statute of limitations per the Medias touch. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read that.
Statute of limitations, but she was also cooperating.
Yeah, and someone said, did he transfer his accounts to Delaware? And what comes of this? I had heard that Trump had transferred a lot of his accounts out of New York. I didn't realize it was Delaware. I was assuming Florida.
Well, that was the question that people want. I think I'm going to use the Lenormand decks today because I've got a couple of the Lenormand decks out and I really want to get used to using them. So I'm going to be using today the Gilded Reverie for people. Okay. But I thought that it would be nice, yes or no. They had said that the Trump kids were in trouble, that the Trump boys are in trouble. Trump is in trouble.
Yeah.
The remote would suggest she she flipped. I think also, if you look at what her husband had said to her, my kids are not going to grow up with a parent in prison. Dang right. Kushner had them. Kushner has a real lawyer. He had them cooperating.
Yeah. I wonder if Trump is going to have his property seized.
Probably. Don't you think so?
It certainly sounds that way. I just saw part of it on the news today before we did our show. But they were saying that Trump could be facing many millions of dollars in fines, penalties for all of the fraud, claiming that his properties were worth much more than they actually were.
So do you want to check and see if Ivanka is going to be charged? Because
Yes, let's check that. Is Ivanka going to be charged? Ivanka going to be charged? I'm getting... You know what? I'm sensing like a no, like she made some kind of deal.
I think you might be right, because you have this energy coming in of ethics and loyalty. The dog is the ethics of loyalty. And then you also have this clown energy. Like, whose side is she on? The Three of Pentacles is to take a voyage or to be taken out of a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
I'm using the Gilded Reverie today. This is a good omen for her, and it would indicate that she has smoother waters, or she's able to get out of the situation. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I think she said what needed to be said.
Do you think it's possible? I guess my next question to you and to everybody else is, if she's not charged now, could she theoretically be charged for something else down the road? Because my experience of DOJ is that they leave you thinking you're in the clear, and then they hit you with something else, like Peter Navarro, right? People that think that they're in the clear, and then the whammo.
Yeah. Should we?
Yes, I want to see if she's going to get charged for something in the future. I don't think she's totally out of the clear.
Is there going to be a future? Is there going to be a future charge? It's future. It's still unclear. My pendulum is going in the direction of a maybe between the no and the yes. Like, it's still uncertain. What do you get?
Exactly as you, because she has the cross, which means like in the grave, her career could be over.
Yeah.
But look at this again. She sails away. She gets out of the situation. But I know why your cards are mixed, because it's undecided. She karmically can take this the other way. It's the roll of the dice.
Yeah.
The roll of the dice, I can't guarantee where this is going to go. But for now, yeah.
I think she could walk away from all of this, but she'll certainly be the only one. Don't you feel the sons, both of his sons, are going to be charged along with him?
I think, she's always going to be under suspicion. Her outcome is under the looking glass. I mean, they're always going to be watching her, but that's not the same as being charged.
Right. But
sometimes they let people like this go, and then they just follow them around, bug their phones, bug their stuff. They tacitly agree, like ban, and I'm 100% convinced.
I don't think she'll ever have a day of peace for the rest of her life.
Probably not.
Here's an interesting question. Can you look into Jared and see if he will be charged for his dealings with the Middle East?
Yeah, I'd like to see that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take a look. Because I would think if anything's going to get her in trouble, she slid away from that, but Jared is her biggest liability.
Jared be charged with the Middle East. I'm still, I'm getting the same thing where it's that between that no and the yes, that maybe, like it's still up in the air and it's not determined yet. That's kind of what I'm getting. It's kind of a muddled answer. What do you see?
It's weird, he is a maligned person. He could retire outside the United States. He kind of reminds me of Joseph in the Bible, in the sense that he has to leave everything and goes and lives somewhere else. But I see Jared possibly having to he's an international man. What's interesting, though? The star of blessings falls on their child. They have a child who could become the president, who's actually this amazing, beautiful wonder child. So their kids are not screwed up.
Right.
Sometimes the most amazing people have imperfect parents.
Yeah.
They have from their union this blessed child come. So they could have this amazing humanitarian ambassador who says, my parents had strange ideas, but one of their kids has an amazing future. And the other thing is, with Jared, he has the tree of life, which is a Jewish symbolism, of Kabbalah and mysticism. We're just coming out of Yom Kippur. It's interesting to see these cards like going like this, as if they're both weighing, but we did some good things. We did some bad things.
Because that's, usually I get a more definite answer on the pendulum like that, but twice I got a strong maybe.
Right. And
Call that a strong answer.
Right. And also the roll of the dice, which means that when it's the roll of the dice, it means you really can't ask right now. And it can pretty much, it's the roll of the dice. But for now, she's safe. She's definitely safe.
Yeah, I think we're both getting that pretty clear. But we have a viewer here who said that their own pendulum says that maybe Ivanka will be charged later, which I think we're both in agreement on. It could go either way. Now, I wonder if Jared is going to be charged with treason along with Trump, and what's going to happen there. That's we had a viewer ask that.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah. Jared be charged? Listen, is Jared going to be charged? Treason.
Oh wow! Oh my God! Oof! What are you
getting?
Seduction.
Seduction.
Seducer. I love the seducer in this card. Look at that.
Yeah.
Can I see it?
Yeah, I can see it. I hope the viewers can see it. Those are beautiful cards. I put the question.
She's like showing her breast. So a seducer comes. Look at this. He's under the microscope. Look at that.
Yeah, I think that's obvious.
He was seduced. There's also there's uncertainty. Another image would be clouds. It's not. Yeah. It's not determined.
Well, I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I got a no on my pendulum for whatever that's worth. But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
I think you're he got the clock though, which means that his good luck could be running out. He got the cuckoo clock. So we'll see how it plays itself out. Also, he's still under investigation for whether or not anything he did was potentially illegal. The bottom line is that as horrible and deplorable as some of the policies are, whether or not it meets the standards of the DOJ being able to prosecute remains to be seen with those types of cards.
Yeah. We had a viewers say, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kushners moved to Israel.
Yeah, they're dual citizens, so I'm dual citizen too, but it depends. He has so many international aspects. But one of their kids, I'm telling you, I think they have a boy child. They got 3 kids. I think 2 boys and 1 girl. One of those kids is going to be a great human being. It's going to be this amazing child.
Yeah, that may not even be in our lifetime. That could be decades from now, but that's quite fascinating.
Well, it makes you think about John Rockefeller. It makes you have the Rockefellers that are born rich and spoiled. And then was it John that went down to the coal mines and started, social welfare programs, etc. So they're going to produce some really remarkable children, despite all of this, with those cards, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Here's a good question. It's changing gears here, but what will happen with the government shutdown and Kevin McCarthy?
That scares me to bahooies, because don't you feel like they kind of have to cut the cord on and turn and do deals with the Democrats to keep that from happening?
It certainly seems that way. My thought is the same as always. They like to play up the drama. Days before the so-called government shutdown, Social Security checks and post office will shut down. They play it up for everything. And then they always swoop in at the last minute and save the day. So I just wonder how much of this is for real. But you're right. There might have to be some negotiating with the Democrats.
Yeah. I was wondering if you had a chance to see any of the interview that Hutchinson had done. Did you?
Yes, it was on The View today.
Yeah.
He claims in your book that received some attention ahead of publication is an allegation you make that Rudy Giuliani effectively groped you at the Trump rally on January 6th. You say that he reached his hand under your blazer and then under your skirt. Mr. Giuliani's spokesperson has called this a disgusting lie against Mayor Giuliani. He gave us that statement again himself tonight. But I was struck by the fact that he was not the only one. Page 52 of the book, you say that John Boehner, of all people, looked down at my cranberry vodka and whispered, "Dark liquor or red wine from now on." Then he tugged on the ends of my hair, saying, "And lose the ponytail." You describe one man who worked in the White House, Mike McKenna, as having a tendency to publicly single out women with crude and demeaning comments. You describe the president, and this is not groping, this is not physical, but you describe him as telling you to add blonde highlights to your hair, which you then went home and did and came back to the White House the next day. That doesn't happen in normal workplaces. I'm just telling you now. Sorry.
Yeah, I learn a lot on the outside.
Yes. There's a whole world out there when guys get fired for doing stuff like that.
It's unbelievable. Well, it's very...
And also Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz claims that he's dating her. And she clarifies that that's actually, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
He chuckled and brushed his thumb across my chin. Has anyone ever told you you're a national treasure? You describe a night at Camp David when he was leaning against the door frame while somebody answered the door to another cabin. Matt straightened his posture when Kevin McCarthy asked him what he wanted. He explained he had seen my golf cart parked outside and thought this was my cabin. Embarrassed, I got up and asked Mr. Gaetz what he needed. He explained that he was lost and asked me to escort him to his cabin. I told...
Okay, I think we've gotten grossed out enough.
I think so.
Is anybody, you're not gonna like lose your cookies or anything, hopefully, but are we surprised?
No. I hate to say that, but no, I'm not surprised. Are you?
I think it's funny that Matt Gaetz is in a relationship with Cassidy Hutchinson all by himself, and that he never bothered to tell Cassidy Hutchinson that they were dating. I think that's rather a revelation. I think that if I were dating somebody, I would want to know.
Well, yes, I think so. We have a question. I want to know if Matt Gaetz will suffer any consequences for his sexist remarks to Cassidy. The viewers said I doubt it, but I was just wondering. What do you think?
Well, let's take a look. I mean, in a way, would we expect anything different from Matt Gaetz, though?
Well, I'm getting, consequences is kind of a loose word, what it means specifically, but I'm getting, yes, there are repercussions.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good. Yeah. Oh, you're right.
Where they are. What are you getting?
People are sick of him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Cassidy is such an articulate woman. She expresses herself so well. I think she's believable.
Yeah. I mean, these cards like the hammer and sickle, he's really, there are people in Congress that view the extreme MAGA as just spoiled brats, and everybody's sick of them. And he's one hammer and sickle, lost in a maze. I mean, he presents as delusional.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the delusion? A relationship. The guy is delusional about a relationship that never happened. She never went out with the guy. He's like, well, we had a relationship, and she's just upset that we broke. Are you on medication? I mean, the guy. I guess what surprises me about Matt Gaetz is I didn't expect him to be that crazy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. But no, I when we asked the question consequences, I took that could even mean just public denouncement, even if it's not formal charges. I think his reputation is pretty bad right now.
Well, I'm glad that came up because we had talked a little bit about Boebert last week. She's now blaming her divorce on why she was vaping and groping and everything else. But a lot of people say also that they want Boebert kicked out, which goes back to a remote I had done a couple of months ago where I literally felt them putting hands to try and get Boebert out of Congress.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know what to say on that one. I don't know.
You want to check and see?
Yeah.
Did we do Gaetz already to see if? Oh, we said that Gaetz would face probably some kind of censor or.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting no. I'm getting a no on the pendulum.
That Boebert is not going to be kicked out?
That's what I'm getting. I asked the questions, but we're going to be kicked out. I'm getting a no.
She's legally protected. I know that because.
Yeah,
The book. The
I mean,
law.
I don't know why. That's just the answer. I'm getting.
Insufficient grounds, like if she had stolen from Congress, if she had taken from her committee, or those are grounds. But having a wild night at the she could be reprimanded. This is like a party card. Woohoo,
Party
party!
card.
Examining the party. But she's got an anchor, which would indicate she's pretty stable. And also the laws, it's very hard to kick somebody, as it should be. It should be difficult to kick somebody out of Congress. It can't just be, well, I don't like them because they're my competition, kick them out.
Well, I think it's also the Republicans need to hold on to everybody they've got. They can't afford to lose.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought. They'll fight to keep her just for that reason alone. I thought she has probably a strong job security for that reason.
Yeah, and I think, I guess that's it. I think that's exactly it. I mean, they're only ahead by something like a dozen votes.
It's a very razor-thin majority, so they can't afford to lose even one person. So I'm sure she's going to be safe, unfortunately. We're getting a question here. What about the shutdown? Is there actually going to be a shutdown? I mean,
go ahead.
My gut is no, because it's, as I said earlier, it seems like they always swoop in the last minute and save the day, but they play up the drama. So I don't know if you want to actually ask.
Yeah, we can. I mean, basically, they're saying that they don't want to put money towards the war. But here is why the Republicans make no sense. They're arguing that, well, we should put the money right here at home. We shouldn't put it towards Iraq, we shouldn't put it towards Ukraine. We got to put the money right here at home. Great. So you're going to now approve all the democratic social programs we've been trying to push through. Is that what you're saying? Great. We're on the same page. Okay. Yep. That's what Bernie Sanders says. Even though I think Bernie Sanders supports this because it's a genocide situation. Yeah, we want peace too, but not when it's genocide against a lunatic that wants to take half of Europe. It's what Biden said in the remotes. It's like, do we really have to be involved in this? We don't want to be involved in this. We have no choice. The guy is freaking Stalin 2.0. Stalin with bigger weapons. That's how you have to view Putin. He's Stalin with bigger weapons. We have no choice.
Yeah.
We had no choice in West Berlin when we had to meet them.
Oh, no question. One of the most dangerous human beings on the planet Earth. Yes, he has to be stopped. I mean, I agree with that. This is an essential assistance we're having to give, essential war we're having to fight.
Well, let's go ahead now and take a look and see if there's going to be a government shutdown, what the cards say, because I go both ways, but you're saying no?
Well, I'm getting no on the pendulum. My gut is telling me no. What are you getting?
I think it can be averted also. And the reason I agree with you is because a bridge. I'm sorry, the lighting isn't that great. So we have this bridge coming in. We have this communication happening. The lady comes, a communication. We also have the clock is ticking, which has me a little concerned because they're up against the gun. They've got to approve this. Yeah. But we have in the grave sarcophagus, which leads me to think that the situation will be resolved. It's also the 8th card, so it could indicate within like a week.
Yeah. It just seems like they always resolve at the quote unquote last minute.
Yeah, I mean,
suspicious of this.
Yeah, it gets resolved. I love the kingdom because the kingdom looks like Walt Disney in this work.
Yeah.
The only way that it's going to get resolved is if they cut the head off the beast, though.
Well, is that going to happen? I don't
Well,
think so.
it means that MAGA, it means that they're the only thing that McCarthy can do, because I'm telling you, I've done remotes on McCarthy. They're starting to threaten to kill him. These MAGA people, he's become the new enemy, just like hang Mike Pence. When Mike Pence was the #1 guy beside Trump, and then now they're coming to kill him, just like with Stalin. If you've ever seen the book Stalin in Pictures, Take a look at Stalin in pictures. In the first year of Stalin, he's there with 100 people. Then a year later, there's only 50 people. Then another year later, there's only 20. By the end of his regime, he's there by himself because he became so paranoid he killed everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with MAGA. It's like there's nobody left. And so now they turn on themselves, which is why it can't survive as a movement. Now they're going after Kevin McCarthy. But when I do remote views on Kevin McCarthy, I feel like someone's going to kill me. I feel like I could be assassinated on the freaking floor. I don't feel safe from these nut jobs. I feel like they're like bullying me to the point where my safety is an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have always felt McCarthy was on thin ice right from the beginning. You know, the way he barely even got into his office, you know, and it's always been clear he could be voted out at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where this is going to go.
I think the only way it can go is that McCarthy has to do what he doesn't want to do, which is make a deal with the Democrats. There's only either government shutdown or cut the head off the beast. Those are the only two options.
Yeah. Well, those are certainly high stakes, high drama, either way you look at it. But cutting the head off the beast, I don't know if I see that happening anytime soon.
Well, I don't even know how MAGA people, well, you know, Boebert, she won't even vote on any of it because she's the one that comes in with the guns. Her and Gates are the two biggest lunatics that everybody's sick of.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she will vote if she will vote for whatever.
Yeah.
But the two big handouts are Gates and Boebert.
Yeah.
And Gosar.
Yeah. Well, as far as the shutdown goes, I don't know. I'm just feeling it's not going to happen.
We have to be on. We have to think positively, right?
Yeah, we have to. Too many people are dependent.
Well, I don't think that it would be.
We know it's not always easy.
Oops, let me go ahead and make sure that this does its commercial thing first. But I don't think it would really be Taco Tuesdays unless we had a little bit of weird news. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Let's lighten things up a bit here.
Unfortunately, we're stuck with a bunch of commercials. But
No.
we'll just wait for it to run through. But you heard about what's going on? Oops, this is the wrong one. Did you hear about what's going on with
spending their time, money, or effort? They just would not be doing it. So we really need to take information what they're not going to pull.
Here's what I wanted to show people.
But I wanted to bring up, sorry, we got off track there. I wanted to bring up Neil deGrasse Tyson for a reason. Neil deGrasse Tyson is someone who is more anti-alien, considering who he is and what he does. And he's more conservative on the thought of extraterrestrial.
So basically what's happened is the Nazca mummies that were unveiled in Mexico, they're actually from Peru. They were on loan at the Mexican museum. They did x-rays to find out if it's a hoax. And they're standing by the results. And what they're finding is that they are a single skeleton. It's not.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so not only that, but you have the Telegraph and other legitimate newspapers now. I'll show you this real briefly.
Yeah, I agree. It's the other thing is that he left these bodies out for the public to test. Anyone can come test a specimen. I don't think.
So basically what they're doing is they're doing DNA. They also did x-rays. The DNA, like I said, the fact that it's a 3-fingered organism, we can't assume that we're looking at an alien from another planet. That's I think that what Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying is really important. Not that this is fake, but let's take a look at the fact that it's a 3-finger.
Yeah.
And so when we look at that, we have to ask ourselves just how old is the timeline? Because what we know is that if it's coming from here, it's a problem. Because let me see if I have this. Here's what Tyson and everybody else is struggling with, and I'll open it up so that people get a better perspective of why people are freaking out.
Yeah.
We're talking about a relationship between us and whatever this thing is that goes back to the dinosaur.
Yeah.
This is the bird. If you look down here, you're looking at bird evolution.
And Whimsy, you know, of course, that birds are considered the closest thing to a direct descendant to dinosaurs.
Yeah, so that's
the skeleton of a bird is very similar to a dinosaur.
Yeah, so what do we do with this information? Because we now have a very well-respected scientific community that's saying that this is real. So we have to totally re-examine we're not saying that they come from another planet. We're saying, what if a line that's not even Homo sapien, the 5 finger up here, right? This is our genetic line. We're talking about something that splits with us over 200 million years ago.
Yeah.
Close, does not hunt, does not develop tool technology of war, and instead spends the next 200 million years evolving in the sciences because they're not using tool technology to hunt and kill. And that's what's freaking everybody out.
They sound like benign creatures.
Well, it's even more shocking than that, because what we're saying is that if this is real, humans are not the most intelligent or advanced creatures on Earth. We could, in fact, be ants that are just now evolving far enough to discover other life beings here.
Well, it intrigued me also that I believe these creatures they've determined were vegan, right? The fact that they didn't.
That's right.
So
that in itself can eat plant foods.
Yeah, that in itself tells me respect for life of all kinds, living off the earth. These sound like intuitively wise beings.
Well, they think that what happened was, is if they evolved in the caves, they hid deeper and deeper into the caves. This is the theory. If you're looking at like the talon, if you look at the Gallus talon, for example, we're trying to go backwards and locate just how far back. And if you look at the Coleophysia right here with the 3 finger that evolves into what will be becoming an alligator, this is a being that broke away before alligator. We're talking well over 200 million years ago. So they go into the cave. Now you go deeper and deeper the cave. What's your oxygen levels going to be like?
Yeah, well, it would be considerably lower, and I would imagine.
Right. So
wouldn't carbon dioxide be higher also?
Exactly. So you're talking about an atmosphere with lower oxygen, and could you see?
You know, my guess would be no. You would probably have very poor vision being in the dark like that.
Right. So the theory now that people are no longer calling the people in Mexico crazy, is that we've got some creature that appears to come from this line, Coleophysia. It goes into the caves to avoid getting eaten. It starts living on algae and swamp water, which is why it doesn't have teeth. Which is why, you know, it loves a good mashed strawberry, wouldn't you? Right? It's pure, you know, that would be exactly, you'd come out of the cave, somebody would give you a strawberry milkshake. You'd think you were in 7th heaven, right?
Well, yeah, and you and I both know.
Glucose, right?
Yeah, we both know from our nutritional background how healthy algae is.
Right.
Like blue-green algae, the antioxidant benefits, cellular benefits, also brain function.
Right. So they didn't have to leave the cave, and they may have evolved. And you have to also understand that oxygen levels on Earth began to increase as vegetation increased, converting carbon dioxide and monoxide into O2 and splitting it. So they were on the Earth. They go into the cave. They begin to evolve with much lower oxygen levels. They can't see. That's why they're wearing the goggles when they come up. That's why they're going out at night. And that's why they're requiring far less oxygen, not because they come from another planet, but because they come from here.
Well, we just had Jill just said that's why their eyes are so big. That's a good observation. And, you know, let's see. I'm trying to read that. Joanna here said they look like koala bears. The reason I bring that up, if you've ever seen koala bears in the zoo, they have to be in low light situations. They have to be sequestered, kept very quiet, very peaceful. So I can see a parallel there.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Travis Walton said. He's like, we don't know where these creatures come from. I mean, why do we think they're aliens? What if they're coming from deep in a mountain because they evolved deep in the cave? So they're doing the sciences. Our technology is all about hunting and killing animals and eating them or trying to not be eaten. So we spend all of our time eating or being eaten. But what if you had a ready available food source like algae water that you could drink and vegetations, and you could just spend the rest of your leisure time advancing technology and entering into, you would advance to, in plain words, they're 200 million years ahead of us.
Yeah, I just get such a warm, loving, benign energy when we talk about them. Indeed, this is.
Well, what's interesting also about Homoglockus, and also the hybrids which crashed in Vegas, they have 5 fingers. So we think that they may have actually been split from maybe Homo habilis, and may actually come from a hominid line.
Yeah.
But these creatures that they uncovered out of Peru, when scientists inspect them, they say, we're looking at something that has so little genetic connection. Talk about an ego buster.
You know something, I could not help but think of the resemblance to E.T., the extraterrestrial, when I saw
Yes.
the picture. But if you remember from the movie, E.T. was like this very advanced, very wise. Remember the heart light in his chest?
Right.
Remember
Yeah.
how many fingers? But it makes me wonder if Spielberg and the creative people behind that movie might maybe studied this a bit and incorporated some of that into the E.T. character.
Well, I'm sure that there were abductees like Barney Hill. I mean, no, I think that ET had 5. He was a Homoglockus type. He was a hominid.
Oh, this is something where I should ask my friend Dee Wallace. She played the mother in that movie. I wonder if she would know something about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that the question people want to ask is, will the mystery be solved? Will we ever find out why they steal our strawberries?
Not Reese's Pieces?
Evidently, when they had the being that they actually had one in captivity, and they actually made him like a green smoothie that he was able to consume.
Oh.
And they asked that, this is based on one of the witnesses from the crash. They said, "Does this satisfy you?" Because they didn't know what to feed him. He said, "I need fluids. I need." And they gave him a green smoothie. He said, "Yeah, that was really great." And that was when they discovered the thing about the berries. But so they can't. Like humans, they can't go more than a couple days without fluids, electrolytes. They don't. They seem to be on a complex carb, low protein diet. But spirulina has protein in it.
This is very fascinating. Someone just pointed out that E.T. had 4 fingers.
Oh, E.T. had 4. Okay.
4 fingers, yeah. But I just could not help but see the parallels there. Maybe other people do too. And I wonder if that was the basis of the movie and the character. But
well, it goes back again. If you go back to what they're saying, and we have people talking about aliens, and if you're looking at Captorhinus, which is early reptile, you're talking about 4 fingers. So we're talking about something that's extremely ancient.
Well, we just had a clarification here. It was 3 fingers and a thumb. But I hear someone else said E.T. had 3 toes. Now, this is all stuff I'm not aware of. I'm just reading what the viewers are saying. But
it's cool. It's really cool because it really helps us. It's really helping scientists try and figure out, well, where the heck are they coming from? And it's very sobering when we take a look at this. We listen to people like Tyson, but I think the takeaway also from all these experts is, don't assume they're coming from another planet simply because they're smarter than us. Maybe we are the insects in the jar, and we're living on a planet, and we've just now reached a level of intelligence where we can begin to communicate with these beings. We just assumed we were the smartest, but we could in fact be hundreds of millions of years below other beings in the evolutionary chart.
Yeah. John just pointed out koalas have 3 toes.
Oh, really?
I was mentioning to you some of the similarities about koalas needing to be in dark environments, quiet, peaceful. They're very benign creatures. I wonder if it'd be interesting to see if there's some DNA connection there.
I think that they said that it was very, very far removed from human DNA, like only a fragment. So it's like dinosaur. So it goes back to it's. I think the thing that's horrifying for us is, oh my God, we thought we had it all figured out, and that hominids, Homo sapiens sapien, was the most intelligent, the most advanced. We put ourselves at the top of the heap, and then this being shows up with these types of characteristics, and it's just causing a meltdown.
Yeah. We just, this is a totally different subject here, but John just wrote breaking news. The actors' strike is over.
Oh, good. The actors'
The
strike is over.
WGA.
Yay.
In fact, on my channel, I'm doing these man in the street reports covering the strike, and I did a thing about the WGA, how it, as of last night, it was very close. There were some few details being kept private, but it was almost certain it was going to go, and it was going to give the writers most of what they've been wanting. But I said last night, I bet this is going to be a template for the actors to use. Yeah. And now I see this right here. The actors' strike is over. So I'm going to be intrigued to turn on the news and learn more about that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's some good news that's a good news for Los Angeles, because it's been hitting the economy seriously here.
Well, that's good news, and it's great news for us to begin to wind things down with all the crazy, wild, weird news. Did you have fun, Chuck?
Oh, I always have fun. I love doing this with you. I feel like I'm in my element.
Yeah. Now, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How are you? First off, everybody who is just joining us, if you could like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's a great way of supporting us. Also, check out the great merch by Debbie Brady. And we have memberships, another great way to support the channel. But I think now we can go ahead and have another conversation, which is that, as you all know, Chuck and I started our very own book club, and we get together. We decided that we wanted to start a book club for our friends. And so we get together once a month, and people who are in the community, you're welcome to send us any book that you've written. We have selected all of the books until for 2023. I am already collecting books. You can send them to the 1819 address, which is below the channel. But then in January, after Christmas, we'll be announcing who the books will be for 2024. But would you like to tell us who we selected for the month of September? Yes, go ahead.
Before, what a delight this was. I didn't get my book until an hour before we did our show last week. Literally, the mail arrived. I open up the envelope, and I see Rosalia Scalia, and I'm like, I know her. She's my friend. This is fantastic. I had no idea. We go back. It was about a year and a half ago, before I was doing this. You had me as a guest on your show, and you interviewed me. And I was talking about how I do spirit-guided portraits like I do here. Mm-hmm. And Rosalia contacted me right after the show, asking me if I would do a portrait of her mother and see if it would come through. And of course, it was just a wonderful experience, because I enjoy talking with people I work with. I like to get their input, like, what do you want in this portrait? What do you want it to convey? So forth. Well, Rosalia and I just hit it off. We must have talked for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And she was telling me about her book. Her book was about to come out. Well,
would you like to tell everybody a little bit about the book?
Oh, yes, I would. Well, first of all, I was just going to say, it's such a delightful surprise when you get a book from someone you know, but a better surprise when you start reading and you find out how fabulous it is. Yes. Rosalia, you and I both are in agreement in this, that she is a fabulously gifted writer. Maybe it's cliche to say this, but I find her work cinematic, in that you read her short stories and you can just visualize it like a movie before your eyes.
Yes, absolutely.
And senses, she conveyed colors and smells, surroundings, emotion. The woman has such empathy, and all of that is conveyed in her writing. You see, I love good writing. I get passionate about good writing.
Yeah, so So basically, it's a series of short stories about redemption. That's basically the best way we can describe it. So without further ado, we want to welcome to our taco table. Well, actually, I guess we're having street tacos at El Coyote right now.
Yeah.
Give it up to.
Hello, everyone.
Leah.
Hi, how are you?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show tonight.
Oh, it's a thrill. I think Whimsy and I are both thrilled to have you here today. And for me, the chance to see you face to face rather than just on the phone. You and I chatted on the phone just 2 days ago. And
I have to say, the portrait you did of my mom, people see that portrait and they say, "Oh my God, that looks just like her."
oh,
You
I'm
caught the
so
expression.
happy.
You caught everything about her.
I did that with the reflection in her glasses, and a few people were critical of that, but I felt it just conveyed her personality and who she was, and I knew that's what you wanted in your portrait.
Yes.
So thank you for your kind words.
Everyone loves that portrait.
I'm so glad.
They all ask me how I know you.
Well, today we're going to talk about your writing, your beautiful, beautiful writing. Whimsy and I were both so moved.
Well, thank you for reading.
Stories.
Really
And
appreciate your reading.
Yeah, I was telling you Sunday, I really feel you should turn some of these into screenplays. There could even be a television show of just short little stories playing out. I think they lend themselves either to a television show or even one-act plays.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to write screenplays.
I'm
I'm
proud
going
of
to
you.
learn how to do that.
You need to do it. You do. Oh,
I
yeah.
will be thinking about you when I'm doing this, because I know with the screenplays you have to put the blocking in.
And I want to hear progress reports. But like the short story you wrote about the father and the daughter, the father who had AIDS and he was meeting with his estranged daughter in the coffee house, to me, that would play beautifully on stage as a one act. It was so moving. That was the other thing. Your stories, some of them just had me weeping, crying because of the beauty. I love the flaws of the characters. To me, flaws are what make us complete as human beings. It's what gives us our colors. It's what makes us interesting as human beings.
And also, flaws are what keep us from loving each other, but also what we love each other in spite of our flaws. And I wanted to capture that flawed people. We're all flawed. We do the best we can with the tools that we have, and that we might love each other. We just don't know how sometimes.
Yeah.
How to express it.
Well, you did that so beautifully. The story about the black boy who was executed. He was 14 years old.
Emmett Till.
Emmett Till, yes. I read that again this afternoon, and it hit me just as hard the second time as the first. When you kept pointing out in the narrative, he was 90 pounds. He was 5'1". He was 14 years old. You emphasized that point several times, and it worked so beautifully for me. Each time it had its own energetic, emotional hit, I thought. And then when you wrote how they put a Bible under him as a booster seat because
George
he was
Stinney.
too little for electric chair.
You're talking about George. I don't think a lot of people know about George and what happened to him. That was a true story that I found totally outrageous.
Well, I remember seeing a photograph. I think I told you this on Sunday. There is a photograph of that poor child before they were going to execute him, just looking terrified. You can't look at that picture and not cry. The tears in his eyes, the terror, the fear of what was going to happen, and knowing he was innocent, the injustice and nothing he could do.
And it was state sanctioned. The state of South Carolina put him in a electric chair, charged him with murder of 2 white girls who were larger than him. He could not have possibly killed those 2 girls.
No, he couldn't have. To me, that short story was a work of art. Well, the whole book is a work of art, but that to me was a masterpiece.
would you like for me to read a little bit of Lessons in Colors for our readers? And do you want me to do the Emmett Till one or the George Stinney one?
Well, I loved many of the things you wrote, but the one 61, A Lesson in Colors in Money, Mississippi, Part 1. Could you read a couple of paragraphs, maybe?
Sure, that's about Emmett Till. And
Yeah.
it's called A Lesson in Colors in Money, Mississippi, Part 1. Part
Okay.
2 is George Stinney. There was a 14-year-old black boy. There was a 21-year-old white woman. There was a whistle. There were 2 white men. There was a crow named Jim. There was a kidnapping. There was a 75-pound cotton gin fan. There was a lesson in colors, meaning that there were 2 white men who thought they'd teach a black boy about a lesson in Money, Mississippi. There was a shed. There were cries in the shed over a lesson in colors, meaning the black boy who whistles, who probably never ever kissed a girl, who called for his mama, learned a hard lesson in color. You just learned how to whistle to call your dog Champ, but you don't want to call Champ anymore because the crow might come instead. There was blue. There were black and blue. There was purple mixed with red. There was a 45 stuck inside a shiny silver pistol. There was that crow who helped a fast flying bullet go into a tender head. A few days later, there was a pop of the bullet exploding in the north, in Chicago, where they learned that a lesson in colors in Mississippi includes topics like a beating, a lynching, a shooting, a killing, and a sinking with the 75-pound cotton gin fan. The talking white man on TV said Emmett Till was at the bottom of the Tallahatchie River, but your black father picked you up and held you in his arms while he yelled at the white TV man about a damned rainbow puddle around Emmett Till, the boy who whistled. There were blood red, purple, and yellow bruised arms of the 14-year-old black boy in the blue waters under the baking yellow sun in the azure sky
Oh,
in green money, Mississippi, where horseflies with iridescent wings and the crow named Jim buzzed like electricity. There was pain. There was the crow that caused the pain that leaked out of the black boy. It made him bigger and larger than before and oozed into his Chicago mama and into your Baltimore mama, who held you so tight that you couldn't breathe. She sang, "Take my hand, precious Lord," into your 8-year-old black boy ears, begging
oh,
for the same Lord to keep you in the palm of his. There was fear in your mama that leaked into you, who wondered what if you fell out of the giant invisible palm of his hand, or if he dropped you like they dropped the whistling boy in Money, Mississippi.
oh.
There's 2 more paragraphs it
Yes,
goes
please
on.
finish. Please finish.
Okay. There was a lesson in colors at school where Sister Ursula caught Darlene Parkley's big sister in the rear of the cloakroom, sitting on the stomach of a 14-year-old black boy. Her yellow hair fell over them while she tried to smear her pink lips over his brown ones as he yelled, "Stop it and get off of me." You wanted to stay home to avoid the crow coming to teach you about colors at your school after you learned how to whistle and after Darlene Parkley's big sister got sent home. The Chicago mama wanted everyone to learn that lesson in colors taught by the crow and by 2 white men in Money, Mississippi. Just like at school, no one paid attention for long.
Oh,
So that was,
Wow, you're such a great writer.
you
thank
are.
you. Thank you.
Rosalia, we were talking Sunday. You said that you channel a lot of what you write. Could you talk about that more?
Yeah, I feel that I do. First of all, I work very hard at the craft of writing, but I always ask the universe to bless my work before I start,
Yeah.
because I feel that I'm supposed to be here. All of my stories are about ordinary people, and all of my stories take on topics that no one wants to talk about. And
Yeah.
I wrote this book long before 2020. It was accepted for publication in 2019. No one knew what 2020 was going to be like, but we had George Floyd. You know, we had immigration issues. There's a story in here about an
Yeah.
immigrant father and daughter. There's gun violence. There's a story in here in which a married couple their marriage is falling apart because because their child was killed by accidental gun violence. And so I just feel like the stories come to me. Some of them are born easy, like Lazarus Died Twice was born easy, and some of them require tough labors where I labor all over each word and worry over each word. And I know instinctively when when it feels right, I know it's right.
That's the way I
And
work.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I always ask for
No.
my stories for the universe to inspire me and
Yeah.
to bless my work.
Because whenever I'm writing or doing art, it's like it has its own life. It tells me when it's done rather than the other way around.
That's correct.
But
Yes, that's exactly right.
well, you know what I love is how you, as you mentioned, you write about ordinary people. You make these ordinary people extraordinary. They're like stars. You make people look at them in a different way. Everybody is special. Everybody is unique. Everybody has a great history. Everybody has a great story. And that was a message I got from your book with each of these characters.
But that's true
I
of real life. Everybody
Yes.
has a story. The person that you see on the
Yeah.
bus. I do keep a little journal when I'm walking around because I see extraordinary things. I walk around a lot.
Yeah.
And I see extraordinary things. Like I once saw a very heavy set lady get on the bus when I was running late for work, and I hopped on the free
Yep.
bus. And her feet were swollen and they were busting out of her shoes. And I just like saw that image, so I wrote it down,
Yeah.
swollen feet busting out of broken shoes. So I keep those images with me. They stay with
Yeah.
me.
I'm the
They
same
do.
way. You know, when I was working my day job, the one I did with Whimsy, you know, I can't turn my thoughts off when things are channeling to me. So I was constantly grabbing scraps of paper and writing things down like that and sticking them in my pocket. And then I'd come home and have to pull all these pieces of paper out and write them down.
Well, I will tell you a funny story. The title story of this book, Stumbling Toward Grace,
Uh-huh.
at the time I was working for University of Maryland News Bureau. So that meant I had to go all over the campus and listen to lectures and then go back and write about them for the campus paper.
Yeah.
Now, University of Maryland, Baltimore is the graduate level school. There's medical school, dental school, pharmacy, social work, law, nursing. It's all the health and human services school. So all of the topics were about those things. So I go to a lecture and it's the changing faces of AIDS. And I hear that the changing faces of AIDS, the fastest growing AIDS population at the time that I went to the lecture were actually older people because young doctors were afraid to ask grandma and grandpa if they had an active sex life. But after their spouses passed away after 40 years, they were stepping out. And so they were getting AIDS at a lot higher rate than then it was not the population that was expected. And part of the reason was that they were not being screened also for STDs because nobody wanted to ask about their sex lives.
And probably also stereotypes, the stereotypical image of an older person. You just don't think of them having a vital sex life. And I heard the same thing, you know, that there was a surprising number of AIDS cases amongst
Yes,
the
so
elderly.
I went back to my desk and instead of writing about the lecture, I started the story and I wrote like a half a
About the
page of it,
father and
emailed
daughter.
it to myself at home, and then wrote about the lecture for the.
Oh yeah, and that's your opening story in the book. The father
Yes,
and the
it
daughter,
is.
and the father, an old man who's taking medications for AIDS and having to
Yes,
tell
and the reason I named him Adolf was because Adolf was a very popular name before World War II.
True.
After World War II, because of Adolf Hitler, it dropped off.
Yeah.
So I wanted to denote the age a little bit by using that name. In Italian, it's Adolfo, which was, I think, even a character in some operas. But I called him Adolf Ott, and I put him in Southeast Baltimore. because I kind of like grew up in Southeast Baltimore where
too.
there were pockets of immigrants. I mean, there were Polish people in one area, Italians in one area, Germans in one area, and the Italian ladies always wanted to look like the Polish ladies, so they would always run and have their hair dyed blonde, including my mother. I'm like, why is your hair blonde? So I set him in that hodgepodge of immigrant neighborhoods, and just like in Europe, the center of of all these neighborhoods was the neighborhood church. And it was St. Elizabeth of Hungary that was in that area where the Poles and the Czechs and the Ukrainians and the Slavs were. It was St. Elizabeth of Hungary.
Well, I love that because, I had the background of knowing you before I read this. I knew about your Baltimore background. I thought, oh, I know why she's using this. But, and you had told me a little about your city. And I wish I had grown up like that with all the...
Baltimore gets a bad rap these days because of The Wire. It's not like that. I had an editor come and visit me from Canada, and his family was like, "You're going to Baltimore? Oh my God, be careful!" And he was absolutely delighted with the city. The irony is that I know David Simon, who wrote The Wire, and also a book called The Corner. And we used to have something called the Traveling Literary Party, where before any of us had books or TV shows, we would get together once a month. The rule was you had to bring something edible or drinkable and a friend, and then we would all sit around and read the stories that we were working on and talk about them.
Oh my God, I would be in heaven in a surrounding like that.
You can create it. You can manifest it yourself in LA where you are.
It's certainly easy enough to do in a city like LA, but I just had so much fun talking to you. I love talking to, I told you, writers, artists, actors, musicians, because we all have that golden thread running through us. And I think we channel from a similar place in our hearts. And, I mentioned I've always had a great love for writing. I used to work with a literary agent. And I told you something he said to me. He said the way to read a manuscript, because he'd get about 200 a week, if they don't grab you with that first sentence, toss it aside and go to the next manuscript. Well, let me tell you, you grabbed me.
That is true.
Yeah. Oh,
I actually read for Narrative Magazine online, and I'm a contributing editor where people from all over the world send stories. And one of my jobs, I'm one of many editors, where we read the stories and we choose to promote them or reject them. And I can always tell the ones who are going to be rejected because they don't capture you. Or the writing is clunky.
He taught me quickly how to read a manuscript, and I found that was almost always true. If they didn't get you first sentence, and definitely by the first paragraph, you can always recognize good writing right there from the start, and it was there.
And just like with artwork, when I look at your artwork, it's alive. It's alive. I don't know how to explain it any other way, but a story needs to be alive.
Thank you. I can't explain it either because I just channel like you, and I do a similar prayer beforehand. Just pray for the highest good. I pray for protection. I pray to connect with that subject, like I connected with your mother. That was such a joy to do that portrait for you.
And I knew you truly connected with her because of her message.
Yeah, do you want to tell that? I didn't want to violate your privacy by telling that. Do you want to tell it? Or
her message was like, don't let anybody bully you or stand your ground or something like that. It was really very
because when I was doing the portrait, I told you sometimes it's just a simple message, like a few words, one sentence. It's nothing dramatic. And that's what I kept hearing because I spent like 4 or 5 hours on that portrait. So I kept hearing that over and over. What do you want to tell Rosalia? So I didn't even understand what it meant. I just said, okay, this is what I heard. And you got it. You said, would you say? I know it resonated big time.
Well, it made a lot of sense because I have 3 other siblings, and of my 3 siblings, I'm the one that sticks out like the sore thumb. I'm the one who has empathy for the homeless and smiles at them and chats with them on my way to work. And I'm the one
say that about me.
I'm the one who thinks in terms of like thinking about stories all the time. So I live with a bunch of imaginary people in my head.
I would imagine stories are just flowing through you constantly the way you write.
You got. This looks so interesting. I know you guys are having a really great time. We actually finished at 6:20.
Oh my goodness.
We finished.
We are finishing. We're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yes.
It's an amazing book. It's a series of short stories about imperfect human beings and redemption. I know you're going to love it as much as we did. Everybody stay where you're at. Don't click off or anything. Anyway, thank you, everyone. If you're a student, I will see you Wednesday tomorrow at 6 p.m. for our third class. We're going to be learning how to do trance work. Yes, for heart-centered remote viewing. And Thursday, we're going to be doing hot topics. Thank you, everyone. Be kind to all so that all can be kind to you too. Next month, for the month of October, our book, we're going into the witching hour. The book we have selected is The Call of the Cards by Heather Hardison. The Call of the Cards by Heather Hardison. We're going to be looking at the mystical and the power of the cards.
Oh, I can't wait to get my copy.
Yes, you will be getting a copy. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Next time. Bye.
Thank you, Rosalia. Thank you, Whimsy.